Now, some of our molecules have to go through the plasma membrane a little bit differently. And so we're going to look at the role of protein pumps and ATP through active transport. Molecules, some molecules that need a higher concentration, maybe inside of the cell, have to go in this manner, and it's actually going to go against what passive diffusion is, and some have to be moved in order to maintain that fluid balance. And so what we see happening is these molecules have to use some energy and go against the concentration gradient. So they are no longer moving in a manner that goes from a high to a low concentration, which would not require energy. They actually have to go from a low concentration to a high concentration. It's like standing on that senior bridge and everybody is moving at you. The flow of traffic, the gradient is all coming toward you, and you are the only one trying to go against that concentration gradient. By the time you're done, you're probably going to be exhausted. You've expended a lot of energy to actually try to get through that flow of traffic. So what we see, and just so you know, this is topic 2.4.6, not 5. An example of this active transport can be seen with the sodium-potassium pump. And so this is kind of showing it in sort of a cycle. It's kind of happening down a pathway. But the first thing that may happen is that you have to have 3 sodium ions actually come into that carrier protein. And so once they do, this basically causes the phosphorylation of ATP. ATP is our energy, and it's going to get expended and used, and so ATP will lose its phosphate and we have ADP left. And so because that happens, that causes a transformation in that protein carrier, and so those sodium ions can go against the flow of their concentration on the outside, and we can pump more to the outside. Now after that, we're going to see potassiums come inside of our protein carrier, and as soon as phosphate leaves this carrier protein, that causes another conformation change of the carrier protein, and then these potassium can now be released. Okay, and so this can happen over and over and over again, and that's all happening due to this ATP molecule. Another example of active transport may be where we have a co-transporter, and so sucrose is and a hydrogen are going to go through a protein, and it's co-transport because they're going together and they're going in the same direction. And so you will have a proton pump that's actually going to pump hydrogens against the concentration gradient, so it's an active transport. We have to use some ATP in order for this to occur, but as those hydrogens come to the outside, it's going to actually help sucrose move to the inside against the concentration gradient. And so both of these will couple together and actually go through, and it can keep happening over and over and over again to help with that flow against the concentration gradient. And again, we have ATP, some energy that's going to be expelled. So ATP is a really cool molecule. It's called, its real name, if you don't remember from your freshman years, is adenosine triphosphate. Okay, sorry, it's really weird to write with this pen. So it's really bad handwriting. So you can see ATP has a lot of carbon structures and a lot of rings, and this part right here is our 3 phosphates. These phosphates all contain really high energy bonds, and so when, for example, in the sodium-potassium pump, this ATP is attaching to that carrier protein, and you see that breakage of this phosphate bond, well, you're left with ADP, okay, only 2 phosphates. Sorry, you're left with ADP. It's missing an electron, a phosphate on its own. And what this energy that we're getting is actually electrons. So there are 2 electrons right here, okay? And so the energy that we can basically power a lot of the chemical reactions that we're going to be seeing this year are all because we've got 2 electrons stored up in a high energy bond. And so we'll keep looking at that. We'll keep looking at the membrane. We'll look at how we can calculate osmosis occurring, and we'll continue to look at how active transport is powered by ATP.